welcome to math. Well, today we're going to learn more about the distributive property and combining like terms. All right, before we keep learning on our journey, let's review real quick. All right, so combining like terms. Remember that we can only combine things that have the same variable or if they're constants, right? So like in this example, that 10x and that negative 2x can be combined because they're both x's, right? So then all you do is you do 10x and then the sign in front tells you what to do, right? So 10x minus 2x will get you 8x, right? And then these two are constants, this negative 5 and this plus 7. Negative 5 plus 7 gives you a positive 2. Okay, so pause the video, try these three on your own, unpause it when you're done, check your work. Go ahead, pause the video. Hey you, stop cheating, stop fast forwarding, pause the video. All right, hopefully you paused the video and hopefully you did this work on your own and hopefully you got these answers. Okay, so this first one, 6x and minus 2x. I combined those because they were both x's. 6x minus 2x got me 4x. That plus 10 I couldn't combine with anything because there's no other constants. So that's my answer. All right, number 2, negative 6x and minus 2x. I can combine those because they were both x's. Negative 6x minus 2x is negative 8x. Plus 30, I couldn't combine it with anything because there was no other constants. So this right here is my answer. Number 3, 4x and minus 12x. I can combine those because they both had x's. 4 minus 12 gives me negative 8, and the x stays with it. Plus 8 and minus 6 were constants, so I can combine those. 8 minus 6 gives me a positive 2. I can't do anything else. That right there is my answer. All right, so that is combining like terms, a review, right? You can combine things that have the same variable, or if everything is a constant, you can combine those. All right, the next thing we learned was distributive properties. So remember, distributive property, you take the term or the thing on the outside and you multiply it to both things on the inside. All right, remember, what you want to remember is that that sign in front of that term stays with it. So like this is really a negative 4. This right here is really a positive 3. This right here is a negative 2, right? That's important to remember. Let's do one together and then you guys can do one on your own. Let's do the rest on your own and check your work. Let's do this one here. This is 4x minus 3. So I'm going to take that 4 times x. What's that? Oh, that's 4x. Right? And then I'm going to take this 4 and times it to this 3. But this 3 has a minus in front. So a positive times a negative gives me a negative. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so you're taking the term on the outside and timesing it to everything on the inside. Go ahead, pause the video. Pause it. Try it on your own. Unpause it when you're done and check your work. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, hopefully you pause the video and hopefully you try these on your own and hopefully you got these answers down here. Okay, so let's go over it real quick. 2 times 4x got me 8x. 2 times a positive 6 gives me a positive 12. Cool. We already did this one together. Oh, this is my final answer. Can't do anything else. We did this one together already, so we know that's our final answer. Right? This was just a negative in front. So remember, when there's just a negative in front, it's really a negative 1 that you're timesing it by. So negative 1 times 3 would be negative 3x. Sorry, I should have said x. And now negative 1 times a negative 3, because this 3 has a minus sign in front, would be a positive 3, because a negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 3 is 3. And that's my final answer. I can't do anything else. My last one here, I got a negative 4 on the outside. Negative 4 times 3x would get me a negative 12x. Negative 4 times a negative 3. See how there's a minus sign in front of that. So a negative 4 times a negative 3. A negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 3 is 12. So that is my final answer. Okay? So that's a review of distributive property and combining like terms. If you need more help with that, go back and watch the videos from the last couple of classes, and that might help you, or ask a teacher and we can help you. Okay, so now we're going to put these two skills and mash them together. All right, so we're putting together combining like terms and distributive property, which we've learned the last couple of classes. Okay, so how do we do that? So first thing we always want to do is we want to do distributive property first. We want to get rid of parentheses. That's pretty common in any math, right? You want to get rid of parentheses. Even with order of operations, the very first thing is groupings, right? That's parentheses. Get rid of parentheses. And the way you do that is using the distributive property. Okay, so what we're doing is we're drawing our arrows to show that we're taking the number on the outside and we're multiplying it to both things on the inside. Remember, distributed is multiply. All right, so we're distributing this negative 2 here to 3x, right? Because that's on the inside. And we're distributing it to this 6 here, which has a minus in front. So that's really a negative 6, right? So 2 times 3x, sorry, negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. Negative 2 times a negative 6, because both of these are negatives. 2 negatives gives you a positive. 2 times 6 is 12. And then this plus 4 we can't forget about, because this was over here the whole time. We just got to bring it down. All right, now from here we combine like terms. What can we combine? Well, I see I have two constants here. I got a 12 and a 4, right? And they're both positive. So positive 12 plus 4. That gives me a positive 16. This negative 6x I couldn't combine with anything, so I just brought it down. And that is our final answer. Okay? Let's do a couple of these together. Why not? Right? Okay, let's do this first one. I have 9 parentheses 2x plus 5 minus 3. So I want to get rid of these parentheses first. So I got to do 9 times 2x. Well, what's 9 times 2x? 9 times 2 is 18. And then the x is going to stay with it. Now I got to do 9 times 5. 9 times 5 is a positive 45. And it's positive because this 5 has a plus in front, and that's a positive 9. Two positives make a positive. All right, now I have this minus 3. I'm just going to bring that down, minus 3. All right, so after I distribute, then I want to look at it and say, what can I combine here? Well, I want to start with my 18x. Is there any other x's? There's not, right? So I know that's going to be my first part, 18x. There's nothing else I can combine that with. There's no other x's. But then I see I have a positive 45 here, right? And I see I have a minus 3 here. Those are constant. They're just numbers. I can combine those. 45 minus 3 is 42, right? And it's a positive 42, so I'm going to put a plus in front of it. So 18x plus 42, that right there is my answer. Okay? Let's do another one. Let's do this one over here, because this one's got 2 parentheses. Ooh, wow. Okay, so let's do 3x times 2x. Ooh, how do I do that? Well, 3 times 2 is 6. X times x. Is there another way I can write x times x? Well, yeah, it's x squared. X squared. So this would be 6x squared. All right, so then I can do 3x times a negative 6. 3 times a negative 6 would be a negative 18. And this has an x, so I'm going to keep an x with it, because that 3x right there, right? All right, now I got another set of parentheses. This one just has a minus sign in front of it. So remember, when it's just a minus sign in front of it, it's really a minus 1, a negative 1 that's there. So we're going to do negative 1 times x. Well, negative 1 times x is negative 1x. And then we got negative 1 times 5. And this is a positive 5, because there's a plus in front. Negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 5 is 5. And then I got this plus 5x. I'm going to make sure I bring that down. Okay? All right, from here, what do I have in common? What can I combine? All right, so this is tricky because we didn't talk about this with the combining like terms. But to be able to combine things, you have to have the same variable, and they have to have the same exponent. So 6x squared, I cannot combine with 18x. I can't do it. So I'm just going to bring down that 16x squared, or sorry, that 6x squared. I can't combine that with anything else. But I have some x's here I can combine. I can combine this negative 18x, and this minus 1x, and this plus 5x. So negative 18 minus 1 would be negative 19. Negative 19 plus 5 would be negative 14. So this would be negative 14x. All right, what am I left with? Well, I'm left with this minus 5. There's no other just constants, so I just bring that down. Minus 5. And this right here is my final answer. Okay? Let's do another one. Let's do this one on the bottom left here. All right, so what do we say we want to do first? We want to distribute first, right? So I want to get rid of these parentheses first. We can't do 4 plus 2 first, because we have to multiply before we can add. We have to get rid of the parentheses before we can add, right? Think of like order of operations stuff, okay? So that means I'm taking this 2, which is a positive 2, because there's a plus in front. I'm taking this 2, and I'm timesing it to this stuff in here. So 2 times a negative 2 will give me a negative 4, and this negative 2 had an x, so that x is going to stay with it. So then I'm going to take 2 times positive 8. A positive times a positive is a positive. 2 times 8 is 16. All right, and then I have this 4 over here. I can't forget about that 4. I got to bring that down. All right, so from here, I'm going to say, all right, what do I have in common? What can I combine? Well, I see I have a negative 4x, but there's no other x's, right? So that's just going to be my answer for that one, negative 4x. All right, but then I can combine my constants. I have a 4, and I have a plus 16. So what's 4 plus 16? Well, that is a plus 20, right? And that is my final answer. I can't do anything else. All right, what if about this one here, in the middle bottom, right here? Let's do this one. So I have x minus parentheses, and then the stuff inside the parentheses. Remember, when there's nothing touching the parentheses, it's really a 1. So this is a negative 1 that I'm timesing into both of these things. So a negative 1 times a negative 4, a negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 4 is 4. A negative 1 times a positive 2x, a negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 2x would be 2x. And then I see I have this x over here in front. I can't forget about that. I'm going to bring that down. All right, so now I got to think to myself, self, what can I combine here? Whoa, what happened there? All right, so self, what can I combine here? Well, I can combine this x and this minus 2x, right? Because they're both x's. So remember, when there's no number in front, it's really a 1. So 1x minus 2x would be negative 1x. So I can write that as either like negative 1x like this, or just write negative x. This is the way they usually write it in algebra, negative x. So my answer here would be negative x. I combine these two. These are kind of gone because they combined and made this negative x. And now I'm left with this plus 4. There's no constants here, so I am just going to write plus 4. And that right there is my final answer. I can't do anything else. Okay? All right, so go ahead, pause the video. Try this top middle one here that we did not do together. And see, unpause when you're done and see how you did. All right, hopefully you pause the video. Hopefully you tried this by yourself, and hopefully you got something like this. Okay, so I did negative 3 times 4 gave me negative 12. Negative 3 times a positive x gave me a negative 3x, right? And then I brought down that plus 5 that was up there. All right, so then I try to combine my like terms. I always try and start with my variables first. So I saw this minus 3x, and I saw there's no other x's, so I just brought that down. But I could combine this negative 12 and this 5 because they're constants. Negative 12 plus 5 is negative 7. Okay? All right, so we have a challenge for you. I want you to create an expression using the distributive property and combining like terms that simplifies to 5x minus 3. Try and come up with one of your own, like a starting problem, like this right here, that where the answer is going to be 5x minus 3. Okay? In class, we'll go over some of your guys' answers there and see who did a good job with that. All right, so that's your challenge to finish your notes. Once you finish with that, show it to a teacher, see how you did. All right, if you ever have any questions, ask a teacher. I'll catch you next time. Bye.